Each day, time for Talk to the Hands. Hey Hans.
Good to be here.
Really excited about this morning. I think I can kind of relate to it. The positive power of negative thinking.
Yes, it was very interesting. I read this book, and this woman wrote The Positive Power of Negative Thinking. And the reason why she wrote it was because she was more on the negative side, and she kept on being told that she needed to be more positive. And so what it is that positive people and high energy people often tell the low energy and negative people to come up to their standards if it's the standard, and if you're negative or low energy, then you're a lesser human being. And so she argued in the book that actually the world needs negative.
Is there right and wrong? Is there like positive right, negative wrong? You know what I mean?
No,
because we think that, don't we?
Well, I'll tell you what, she decided on two categories. You have the strategic optimists and the defensive pessimists. Now, the strategic optimist goes from A to B. In other words, they figure I'm going from here to here, and they'll just go there. You know, they do it in a, let's just go, and they'll clean up the mess after they've got to B. Whereas the defensive pessimist, or as Joe calls it, defensive realist.
Yeah, can I clarify that's Joe, your wife?
Yeah,
your wife,
yeah.
Not Joe here.
And I don't disagree with her, but just so our listeners understand, that's your wife you're talking about there.
Defensive realists, what they do is they go from A to B, but they think about all the things that could go wrong and put things in place to make sure they can get from A to B in a safe way. And the thing about being married is that you'll often find that these two are attracted to each other initially, but this can create, quite a challenge for the couple at times.
It's interesting because in my marriage, again, not wanting to reveal too much here, but I'm the positive one. My wife, well, I don't want to call her, she's a realist, let's say.
Yeah.
And so I'll say, hey, what about this? We could do this. And I come up with what I think is a really good idea. And then she gives me all the reasons why it won't work. And but in some ways I can appreciate that because she gets my head, out of the clouds. But in other ways it's frustrating, you know what I mean?
Now, what you need, you need the defensive realist to be the guy who's doing a hard operation or the guy who's building the aeroplane. But it takes a strategic optimist to get on a plane and fly it, you see.
Yeah.
Because they'll just go in there and do it because let's go. But you need the other guy to make sure that it's built because they sort of build it in such a way, well, this could go wrong, so I've got to put that safety thing in. This could go wrong, so I've got to put that. So the world needs both kinds of people. It's just that the positive folk tend to be a little bit critical of the negative folk. And that can happen in a marriage. And what happens sometimes is that couples will polarise. So the person who's positive kind of gets tired of the negative person, and the negative person kind of feels continually under pressure from the positive person.
To be more positive.
Yeah. And any time you polarise, in other words, one is more set in their ways and the other one is sort of resisting, you polarise. And I always think, if you polarise, you're moving away from each other. It's like a rubber band between you. It creates more tension. So what you need to do is, and I need to do that, and I see you've done it, you need to understand that the other person has a valid way of seeing the world, a valid way of experiencing things, and so you get together and you work it out together. So I will take into consideration what the negative realist says. Yeah, I can see that we need to, okay, I'll make sure this and this is in place before we go there. And what I find is that the realist, the pessimist, really appreciates the positive person because if they didn't have a positive person, they probably wouldn't do much. There's always things in the way for doing things.
Yeah.
And so you can complement each other. But if you have these things and it complements, that's good. But if it creates tension, then it can be a bit frustrating actually.
That's
Talk
brilliant.
to the Hands. You're a legend. We love it when you come in each week. Thank you so much for being here.
No worries.
Hands